Bendy and the Ink Machine was a massive hit. When the first chapter was released, it intrigued many fans due to its 1930 setting, cardboard jump scares, and Wally Franks' iconic "I'm outta here," and of course, Bendy. Soon, Bendy and the Ink Machine was made into an empire of marketable plushies, a sequel, and 2 spin-off games. Today we're determining which deserve to go to Ink Heaven and which should be damned by the Ink Machine to go through the cycle again. Hey guys, I'm Brad with One Up Binge, and this is the Bendy series characters, good to evil. Before we get started, the rules. We're only going to be looking at the 2 games, Bendy and the Ink Machine, and Bendy and the Dark Revival. So the spin-off games, Boris and the Dark Revival, and Bendy and Nightmare Run will not be included. We're only going to be including characters that have had an impact on the story, so characters like Wally Franks, Grant Cohen, Porter, and others will not be included. As usual, we'll be starting with our most notable characters and working our way down to our most evil. These characters are the good. Starting off the list with our gold medal of good, we have Boris the Wolf. Boris, or Buddy Boris, is a temporary partner that you encounter in chapters 2 and 3 of Bat.I.M, and who Henry needs to save from Alice Angel in chapter 4. While we don't know much about him, we know that he's the best character in both games. He's completely muted and rather timid and scared of the dark, but he's loyal, helpful, and lets Henry stay in his safe house. We're not going to put Brute Boris against him because that was the work of Alice Angel, who we'll get to later. Out of all the characters on our list, Boris is the one with the least amount of flaws and with no bad intentions, so we're happy to give him the gold medal of good. Our silver medal of good goes to Audrey Drew. Audrey was a cartoon artist like Henry. She enjoyed making the revival of the Bendy cartoon and was working hard to achieve her goals. When she was dragged into the cycle by Wilson, she trekked through the cycle to find a way back home. Through her journey, she feels bad for the lost souls, Allison, Bendy, and others, and she was willing to hear Wilson and his solution to stop the Ink Diamond. She ranks lower than Boris because of her origin story and all the emotion she was going through, taking it out on Joey and Wilson and not believing that she was an ink entity made by Joey. But she is still a good person who was able to restart the cycle and promise to make things better for everyone still in the cycle. The bronze medal of good goes to Henry Stein. Henry was Joey's old friend and co-founder of Joey Drew Studios. He created the main drawing for Bendy and Boris, as well as some concept art for Alice Angel. He left the studio to spend more time with his wife, ultimately setting the course for Joey to create the Ink Machine and the cycle's endless loop. Henry's reasons for leaving were understandable since he couldn't stand Joey's attitude, Joey being full of himself. In Bat.DR, he returned as an ink entity and helped Audrey restart the cycle so he could have a chance to make things better for everyone. He doesn't rank higher because he left the studio, which set the course for the Ink Machine and the cycle, though his reasons keep him from going any lower. The last in the good tier is Allison. While the Alice Angel we first meet is bad, Allison Angel is shown to have a good heart. She cared for both Henry and Audrey, helping them whenever they were in trouble. She believed Henry was the hope that she was waiting for, and she helped guide Audrey through the cycle. She ranks lower because she has self-doubt about being an angel, and she abandoned Henry when Allison and Tom believed the Ink Demon was coming. But we're not going to hold the abandonment against her too much because it was Tom that persuaded her to leave him, and she was torn up about it. For those reasons, we're giving her the last good spot on this list. We're now moving on to the gray area. These are the characters that are not bad, but not good either. Starting off the tier, we have Allison's partner, Tom. Tom is a Boris clone that is more serious than the others. In chapter 5 of Bat.I.M, he's very distrusting of strangers, even silently threatening Henry while he was in his cell. He even knocks Henry's food onto the floor and continues to threaten him. He persuaded Allison to abandon Henry when the Ink Demon was coming. However, he begins to trust Henry after he kills Sammy Lawrence and they fight together against a large group of ink monsters. In Bat.DR, he grew and he learned to trust Allison's associates. We can't place him in the good tier because of the way he treated Henry, though we can place him at the top of the gray area. Next is Betty. We don't know much about Betty, but we know that she was created by Wilson to be a housemaid in his civilized world. She was happy that she had someone else to talk to other than Wilson. She was relieved that Audrey was okay when she got kidnapped and asked Audrey to go see Wilson afterwards. We can't place her in the good tier, but we also can't place place her any lower because we don't know much about her personality. She seems to be like a doll for Wilson that is tasked with helping people to their rooms and cleaning everything. The last person in the gray is Nathan Arch. Nathan Arch was Wilson's father and the founder of Archgate Pictures and was seen as an industrial genius and a business tycoon among the people. While we don't know much about him, we do know from Wilson that because he was very successful, he didn't pay much attention to his son, and Wilson felt rejected and was always in his shadows. He ranks at the bottom of the gray area because of this. If he had spent more time with his son, Wilson wouldn't have used the ink machine to fulfill his own desires. Alright, we have reached the bad to evil. These are characters that have either no control over themselves or all their good was sapped from the ink machine. The first spot in the bad tier goes to Butcher Gang. Members of the Butcher Gang were enemies that would face Henry after Chapter 2 in Bat.im, and since then, they have become staples in the Bendy games. The Butcher Gang consists of Piper, Fisher, and Stryker, with Slicer being the fourth member and Dat DR. They are the corrupted versions of the Butcher Gang from the Bendy show that was made by the Ink Machine. They have low intelligence and speak gibberish, but they're still dangerous as they will attack anyone they see. They don't rank lower due to being almost mindless zombies, but they deserve a spot here. Next is Norman Polk, aka the Projectionist. Norman Polk was the lead projectionist for Joey Drew Studios and was kind of an eavesdropper. He became one of Joey's victims to the Ink Machine and became the Projectionist, an inky monster with a projector for a head. He will chase and kill anyone that disturbs his domain. He even fought against the Ink Demon, though he lost horribly. He doesn't rank lower because he has a projector for a brain, and we can't fault him too much for being mindless. Next is Bertram Piedmont. Bertram was in charge of making the amusement park of Bendyland. He was proud of the past amusement parks that he worked on, calling each of them a colossal wonder with over 40 years of experience. However, he clashed with Joey Drew for setting his expectations too high, while Joey believed that Bertram wasn't dreaming big enough. In the cycle in Bat.im, he fought Henry as a living carousel with his big head inside of it. After he was defeated, he wasn't seen again for the rest of the game. However, he reappeared in Bat.dr as only the head with a few deep scratches and his left eye ripped out. A fitting fate for someone as egotistical as Joey. Next in the bad tier is Sammy Lawrence. Sammy was a music composer for the Bendy cartoon, who was annoyed with Joey's ink pipes embedded over the studio walls. As an ink entity, he was driven insane, saw the Ink Demon as his savior, and tried to sacrifice Henry to the Ink Demon to free himself from his inky body. After being attacked by the Ink Demon, any calmness he had was gone, and he tried to kill Henry when he believed that he was his former savior. He was ashamed to be shown without a mask, which ultimately led to his downfall after Tom killed him with an axe to the head. He doesn't rank lower because our top 4 are worse than him. In 4th place, we have Alice Angel. Alice Angel, or Twisted Alice, is the main antagonist of Bat.im chapters 3 and 4, and the supporting antagonist of Bat.dr in chapter 6. In Bat.im, she asked for Henry's help for some errands, such as gathering ink bulbs and ink hearts to make herself beautiful again. She made a deal with Henry. If he would do her work, she would let him go. But her true intentions were shown when she tried to kill Henry with a crashing elevator and kidnapped Boris to take his ink heart. In the climax of chapter 4, she transformed Boris into Brute Boris, which was a giant Boris without his ink heart, and made him bigger and stronger with Boris completely under Alice's control. In chapter 5 of Bat.dr, she kidnapped Audrey after Audrey drank a sleeping potion, and she made her solve a riddle at the risk of her life. After Audrey solves the puzzle, Alice goes into a rage and tries to kill Audrey with a Tommy gun. Overall, though she got stabbed to the chest and killed in both games, her evil is outmatched by our top 3. The bronze medal of evil goes to Joey Drew. Man, do we have a lot to say about Joey Drew. He co-founded Joey Drew Studios with Henry in hopes and dreams of making memorable cartoons for the world to enjoy. He worked more than anyone else. He was a workaholic and a compulsive worker. However, his work ethics were harsh and demanding as he was greedy, selfish, manipulative, and cared very little for his employees. After Henry left, he was outraged and had to hire a host of employees to replace him. When his business was failing, he blamed everyone else but himself, and it led to his creation of the Ink Machine to bring his characters to life. He tricked Henry into coming to the studio, and he essentially trapped him in the cycle. In Bat.dr, he came back as an ink entity with all of Joey's memories and showed us another side of him. It was revealed that shortly after he trapped Henry in the cycle, cycle, Allison Pendle, the voice of Alice Angel, after replacing Susie Campbell, made him realize that he still had good inside him, and he sent an angel to help Henry, who was believed to be Allison Angel. After, he decided to use the ink machine to create a family of his own, and he created Audrey. He gets the bronze medal because he made a lot of terrible mistakes and didn't take any responsibility, but he's not completely heartless, unlike our top two. But real quick, before we get to our next entries, if you're enjoying this video, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We ask because we'd really appreciate the help getting to our next milestone, and we have lots more videos we'd love to share with you. Thanks a lot, guys. The Silver Medal of Evil goes to Wilson Arch. Wilson was first introduced as a janitor for Archgate Pictures, but quickly shown that he's much more than that. He ruled over the cycle and sealed Bendy away inside a smaller version of himself, rendering him harmless. While he was shown to be old and helpless, he was very careful of his word choices, making him excellent at manipulation. He can create carefully articulated lies that everyone believes in, and make empty promises to persuade the ink entities to do his bidding. He's cruel, sadistic, narcissistic, self-centered, and a megalomaniac. His downfall came when he tried to overpower the ink demon. He overestimated himself while trying to get Audrey transformed into his creation, Ship-Ahoy Dudley. Instead, he himself turned into his own creation, Ship-Ahoy Wilson, and acted as the final boss of the game. He would have won and killed Audrey if it wasn't for Bendy coming in and killing Ship-Ahoy Wilson by biting his throat off. Who knows what kind of damage Ship-Ahoy Wilson would have done if he got loose. Speaking of which, the Gold Medal of Evil goes to Bendy. I mean, come on. Who to give the Gold Medal of Evil to was an easy choice. Bendy was a failure created by Joey in an attempt to make a real-life version of his cartoon. Having no human soul, Bendy showed no emotion other than to always smile. Bendy became known as the Ink Demon, as he would kill anything or anyone in his path, whether that person was harmless or not. Despite hating what he was made for, he hated when people broke his cardboard cutouts. In Bat DR, he was given a personality and voice to show more of his character. It showcased Bendy as a sadistic demon who shows no remorse for anything he does. When he saves Audrey from Ship-Ahoy Wilson, he confronts her with the fact that she's a monster much like him, which shows that he knows what his nature is and fully embraces it. Before Audrey restarts the cycle once again, he warns her that anything she does will never fully break the cycle. Audrey shrugged it off, saying that she'll try better next time and find a way to make things better for everyone. Overall, all of his actions in both games, he more than deserves the Gold Medal of Evil. If we had something of a Platinum Medal of Evil, he would earn that too. With our morality spectrum complete, let's wrap things up by awarding our center medals. The Darwin Medal goes to the Butcher Gang, since they were born with no human intelligence, unlike all the other ink entities. The Greed Medal goes to Joey Drew, since he only cared for his cartoons rather than the employees that worked for him, and for all the ink that he generated to bring his creations to life. The Pride Medal goes to Bertram Piedmont for his undue pride in all the amusement parks that he worked on over the last 40 years. The Lust Medal goes to Alice Angel, since he stole Boris and many ink hearts to make herself beautiful again. Bendy easily wins the Wrath Medal, since he killed anyone in his path, even when they proved harmless. The Sloth Medal goes to Wilson Arch, since he would rather have other people do his dirty work rather than himself. And the Gluttony Medal goes to Boris, since at the beginning, he held Henry hostage until he got himself something to eat. Alright guys, that's it. What do you guys think of our ranking? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you need a one-up, make sure to hit that notification bell and binge our other gaming videos. Thanks for watching.